I'm not surprised. Considering I think Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, Dio, I think he's 4 years left on his deal.
Yeah.
And for them to tear that deal up, but he's played it. And I love this. When guys outplayed the contract that they're currently under, reward him. Because if he underperforms, you shall release him or you restructure the contract. So I like an organization that does it both ways. You outperform, I'll pay you. If you underperform, I'm going to need to claw back some of that money. But what it does do, it puts him under immense amount of pressure to win. I believe D.O. Stephen A., he's under the same amount of pressure that Lamar Jackson is because the MVP adds another level of pressure. Not only is he the highest paid, he got the most guaranteed money in NFL history. He has MVP, as you heard Molly read. MVP, Josh Allen. When you get those 3 letters added to your name, it creates immense pressure if you don't already have a Super Bowl. So we just ratcheted up the expectations, the intensity, and what we expect from Josh Allen. He needs to win, and he needs to win sooner rather than later.
Well, a couple of very, very important points to make here. First of all, I'm all about people getting paid. I think it's a very, very good thing in life. I think it's a very good thing.
It's abundantly clear. It's crystal clear over the last 3 or 4 days.
We have the internet.
I just think it's important. That's number one. Number 2, I think, Shannon, and I know you haven't spoken yet about this, D.O., but I think you missed the most important point. The most important point. The beauty of this contract is that it's the largest guarantee eclipsing that of Dak Prescott. See, now somebody that's worthy, you understand, of these dollars, of this guarantee, that the $250 million guarantee, it's actually somebody that's been in a conference championship game. It's actually somebody that's been an MVP. So when you talk about him getting that kind of money, that's who we want to see getting the bag like this. The average of $55 million, well, Joe Burrow's there, Trevor Lawrence is there, stuff like that. But on average, Dak Prescott is still getting paid more, all right? Now, it's true. It's true.
But why is Dak catching strays right now? Why is Dak catching strays?
Okay, you know what? Let's omit the name Dak Prescott. Instead, somebody that actually wins playoff time, that actually gets to a conference championship game, okay? That's the person. Listen, I want all football players to get paid. If you can play, you should get paid. And the aforementioned individual can play. And I'm happy that he's got money. Get the bag. I'm just saying, when you're number 1, but there's nothing about your play that says number 1, that's a conflict of interest in my estimation. I don't like that. So the fact that Josh Allen, the league MVP, is getting this bag, knowing what he means to Buffalo, I do agree with you, Shannon. He is now, I'll put him up there as being even under more pressure than Lamar Jackson, okay, right now. He's elevated in that regard, but he is a league MVP. He was just in the AFC Championship game, and he's an absolute stud. And to lose Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis last year and to still have the kind of year that he had has cemented his status as an absolute elite quarterback in this National Football League. He deserves this bag.
Yeah, worth every penny. Worth every single penny as a player, too. Shannon, to your point, this probably frees up some cap space right now while the number is outrageous for this football team to go forward. The third part is this: championship quarterback, not a championship defense. Their last 5 playoff games, their defense has given up more than 27 in every one. They're giving up an average in that 5-game stretch, I think 32 or 33 points. In that span, he's got 20 touchdowns and only 3 giveaways. This is, while the pressure is there to win the Super Bowl, that's very real, him and Lamar. This is now organizationally, they got to rebuild a defense that gets somewhat on par. It's not going to be the level of the quarterback play, but it's got to get close. This defense has let this quarterback and this team down far too often in their last 4 or 5 years in the playoffs. So worth every penny, free up some cap space. You got to rebuild the defense. I'll address the question that's underneath. Yes. Most pressure to win the Super Bowl, yes. It's Josh Allen, it's Lamar Jackson. Whatever way you want to lean, great, have at it. I'd probably lean a little bit Lamar, just because their organization has been so ridiculous, drafting and development, they've drafted some absolute superstars, but Buffalo's right there.
Okay.
The third name that I will throw into this conversation, though, would be if Aaron goes to Pittsburgh, I think he's right there. If Aaron goes to Pittsburgh, if Aaron goes to Pittsburgh.
Aaron Rodgers?
If Aaron goes to Pittsburgh, absolutely.
Oh, come on. Oh, come on, Dan. Come on, Dan. No, Dan. Not after the way people have been lamenting how he's looked over the last 2 to 3 years. Now, if he's looked like a stud but can't close the deal, that's different. But if we want to point to age and attrition and father time and say he's not what he used to be, then just because he arrives in Pittsburgh in the same division as Joe Burrow, as Lamar Jackson, we can't suddenly just sit up there and say, no, there's more pressure on him than anybody outside of Lamar and Josh Allen. I don't think we could do that, Dan. I don't think we could do that.
Stephen A. He goes to the Jets. It doesn't work out. 1 year, the injury. Last year's a disaster, all that. He goes to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was a playoff team last year with 2 different quarterbacks that they would move on from for Aaron Rodgers. Mike Tomlin doesn't lose all that. He goes and performs the same level. That would be a really, really black mark on a Hall of Fame career. To finish his career like that, not in a very negative fashion, at 2 different places, I'm not saying it's the same level with Josh and Lamar, but I think if he goes there with the addition of DK Metcalf and the way that this team has been with Mike Tomlin, there is no question about it. The pressure to win would be immensely high for Rodgers in Pittsburgh. Immense.
I disagree with you, D.O., because I don't think he's as good currently as he was in his MVP seasons, and I don't know if the teams that he has surrounding him is as good as those teams that he had in the MVP season. So that's why I don't think they're pressure. But you look at Josh Allen, the highest paid player in NFL history, the most guaranteed money in NFL history, and he has those 3 those letters behind his name, MVP. The same with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is a 2-time league MVP, and at one point in time, he was the highest paid. And so now you have that back and forth. They're in the AFC. They're with Patrick Mahomes. And we've seen guys, Jalen Hurts, there are only a handful of guys that
Shannon, let me ask you that.
I've beaten Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me ask you this then. Right now, because things will change and can change, but let's put in the hypothetical world, because we know some teams. Aaron goes to Pittsburgh. Where are we slotting Pittsburgh at in the playoff, in the conversation? I know this is very...
They're in the conversation.
Okay, so they're not better than Buffalo, right? We're not putting them above Buffalo.
No.
We're not putting them above Baltimore. We're not putting them above Kansas City.
No.
You putting them on par with a team like the Chargers and the Broncos?
Yeah.
Or the Texans?
Or the
on
Texans?
par with,
Yeah.
give or take?
On par with.
So then you're talking about a top 4, top 5 team in the conference.
But D.O., you're minimizing the point that Shannon made and I made when I talked about y'all have been saying this slippage in him. Yeah. If he's still looking like Aaron Rodgers, but they're just not winning, that's different because he's a difference maker. You're saying age, attrition, father time has kicked in. He's not what he used to be.
We got to hit the top of the hour,
And we know that the
guys.
Steelers not. I can't do that. Can't do that.
All right, we got to leave it there. Josh Allen is 7-6 in the playoffs. 4 of those losses, of course.